The core cast of any saga can make or break the story. From Genshin's Aether and Paimon to Limbus Company's 12 Sinners or even Honkai Star Rail's Astral Express, a core group of characters can easily excel a mid-story to greatness, or they can easily bog it down into delirium. And then there's Wuthering Waves, where the entire core cast is just Rover. And for a story so focused on memory, emotion, and identity, this might be the biggest weakness. My name is VoidEnigma, and I'll be discussing the concept of the core cast in gacha games, and what Wuthering Waves is doing, or failing to do. Most games build their identity across their poster character, the figure on the icon that anchors the game world with the player experience. But Wuthering Waves has been riding on the fact that Yang Yang is their icon, but her presence in the story doesn't even exist, which is a problem. Like seriously, did the story devs just throw a dart at a board and just pick the character that it landed on? Crap! We got Yang Yang, but a deal's a deal, let's go with it. Let's set that concept aside and deconstruct the value of a core cast. Make sure to subscribe to the video if you're enjoying it so far, like the video, and let's go. Rover roving these Wuthering Waves is the game of this gacha game, and I don't think that will ever change. This is Rover's story, from start to even now, and while other characters share the spotlight from time to time, they later fall into obscurity as Rover moves on to a new region, and it's a gacha game after all. And that's the core problem of the story of gacha games. It's a gacha. The best stories focus on a small group of characters, or you focus on a few main characters in different regions and you kind of have their stories interacting at the same time. In a gacha game, you just can't do that. The whole concept of a gacha is to sell as many characters as possible. That's why in games like Genshin and Wuthering, you move from region to region to collect as many body samples as possible to add to your pocket dungeon to spawn out your next character to use at will. While this is the name of the game, there are actually ways to alleviate this and make a cohesive story. Honkai Star Rail has the Astral Express, the Trailblazer Dongheng, and March 7th. Those three are considered the main cast of Honkai Star Rail. They are considered the pivotal plot points and the game revolves around these three. They are also the only three characters that have more than one form. This is actually a great point in Star Rail, but the issue with Star Rail doesn't come from its core cast. It comes from its slow pacing and lack of really good storytelling, but if they remove those concepts, then this would actually be a great story. Now, a game that embodies the concept of a core cast the best is hands down Limbus Company, with Nikke and Brown Dust being close contenders. You see, Limbus Company has 12 sinners, well 13 if you include Dante, but he is the protagonist who commands the sinners and is therefore unplayable. So, how do you make a gacha game with thousands of different characters out of the 12 playable sinners? Well, you don't. You create an identity system. Still a gacha game, I guess. Instead of releasing new character after new character, they simply add something like a skin to each character. So for instance, Don Quixote has different identities, but they all have the same personality with some major quirks. They each lived a different life and it's still the same person. Think of it like an alternate version of the same character. So one Don could be a goofy cultist who wears heavy armor and looks funny, while another Don could be a high-tier vampire lord who commands a legion of blood fiends, and another Don could be a magical girl who shoots arcana magical beams, and also Slick gets demented in the process. The identity system in Mirror World's concept in Limbus is beautiful. Sure, you don't get any new characters in the game, but you have your stock standard group and they're all batshit crazy in their own unique and fun way, and they all get power-ups as the story progresses. This makes an extremely cohesive story, and throughout all of Heaven and Gacha Hell, without a doubt, Limbus Company's story remains the strongest. A major flaw with gacha games is thinking that every character that gets released needs a grand explanation. Games like Nikke and Brown Dust 2 just drop characters with, assets, and people lap that stuff up. Now, while these games aren't played primarily for their story, they have some of the most solid stories in any gacha game. You just need to get past the, massive valley of fan service to reach it. Many of the newer characters released do lack major story elements, but they are still introduced for people to get them. People pull based on the pure design of characters all the time. Look at Chisa from Wuthering Waves. She's the most valued upcoming 5-star, and we don't know a thing about her. We don't even know what region she's from. This is an example in itself. So if people pull based strictly on character design anyways, why do the gacha giants take the time to weave intricate and delicate stories in each region involving as many characters as they can? We don't pick who we love in gacha games. For me, it was Changli. Love at first sight. Everyone else saw a hot, fiery phoenix pink lady, and I saw a divine goddess. After being associated with the Church of Changli for over a year now, I finally can admit that she is just the best character with the best story in all of Wuthering Waves. Those weren't delusions brought forth by my unhealthy addiction to Changli, no, those were facts brought forth by my unhealthy addiction to Changli nonetheless. But on the way, a story can really drive you to get a character. I've never been one to pull a character after their story, but damn, have I been close to doing it sometimes. For Lova, for instance, it took everything in my bones to not pull her after that immaculate story of version 2.5. Genshin and WuWa are very similar in the fact that Rover and Aether and Lumine are the main protagonists. This journey follows them and the people that they meet. I consider Paimon as part of the core cast of Genshin, and I don't consider Abby as a part of the core cast in WuWa for quite a few different reasons. 1. Paimon is always there no matter what. Every cutscene, every moment, every dialogue, Paimon is there. Abby, on the other hand, is normally just inside Rover's tacit mark. She comes and goes as she's actually called for, but she's more of a recurring character than a core member. Despite this, however, I actually consider, surprisingly enough, Dainsleif as a core member of Team Genshin. But let me explain. Genshin's story is 90% filler. The real story elements that matter always come from the Dainsleif story, which actually progresses the story. When it comes to the main Archon quest, they don't really push the story forward at all. We only ever get real story progression to the Traveler's goal when we're dealing with Dainsleif, and that's to actually find their sibling. Even if we get the Dainsleif quest about once a year, it is the one that we really look forward to. Genshin, however, completely omits their past characters for new story concepts. Once they get their story, it's over. They get scenes and events, which are literal filler, but as far as story presence, they may as well not even exist anymore. They have their banners, they have their fun, and then it's over for them. Any character in the Fatui is an exception, especially with the Harbingers like Child and Armakino, but they may be important to the Snezhnaya story, and that's it. Meanwhile, with Wuthering, Rover is the standalone protagonist on his journey to solve the issues of the Lament. For Lova, a character introduced in version 1.0 was an integral part of that story, and that story has been wrapped up in version 2.5. We did a lot in Honglong, and we haven't heard anything from Chixia or even Yang Yang. Like seriously, she's the mascot of WuWa and she's been gone since version 1.1. We did a lot of Renacida as well, and now we move on to Septimon, and there's no mentions of characters like Brand Roshia. We get transmissions from the Black Shores, and Cardathea has been a major part of the story since she's been released in version 2.2, even up until now, but we have not even checked on Shorekeeper since the start of Renacida. Now we have Septimon, and a new large cast of new characters to build bonds with, and sadly, new characters to forget. We, as players, we won't forget our favorites, but it's sad when the story forgets our old characters. On the bright side, we have had moments where Rover talks about Jinshi in the actual Cantarella part of the story, but I think this is really just due to the fact that Jinshi is a sentinel of the Honglong, meaning that they'll always be important to the story. Jinshi is somewhat of a 6-star resonator along with Cardathea, so they are just built different. All the other characters who support them, however, for instance Changli and Cantarella, the main pillars for the Sentinel's resonators, they may as well not even be considered part of the story anymore. If these characters did get involved, it would kind of destroy the foundation of a great story. You can only have so many characters in a new region, and if you're going to be creating a gacha game, you may as well create new characters to sell while you actually create these new regions and new stories. After all, if you can make an impactful story for each and every character that gets released, then maybe you can forgive them for never returning to the story. So to finally answer the question, is Rover being a solo character an issue for Wuthering Waves? Yes and no. You see, as of right now, the Wuthering Waves story is a mixed bag. Some say it's decent, some say it's downright awful, but we have moments like the 2.2 story and the 2.5 story where they focus in on a main core cast of characters, and these are the stories that shine. In the early segments of Wuthering Waves, it was strictly Rover, and a large cast of characters. Even at the start of 2.0, it felt like there was so much happening, so we couldn't quite tune into the important characters, but it still was pretty concise with that of Carlotta, Brant, and Rochia. Rather than having 10 plus characters all interacting in one quest, if we focus on just 2 to 4 at most, then the story will actually thrive because of it. You can develop a great complex dynamic between these characters, and it's just overall a good thing to do. I feel if Wuthering continues to deliver story sagas like this and delve more into the tragic side of these characters, their story as a whole will improve tremendously. Even version 2.4 with Lupa, I loved it, and while everyone didn't consider it a masterpiece, focusing on purely Lupa, Cardathea, and Rover made this story all the better. It's obvious that WuWa has the keys to make a great and concise story, and as long as they keep up this pattern, the story can be considered a good one. This is and always will be Rover's story, so the extra characters are just there for the ride. Except Changli, she's the best character out there, so no one's ever gonna put her down, you know, like, come on, like. What do you all think, though? Would you like for Rover to have an entourage of characters like Chi-Si or Yang Yang, or is it better for Rover to be the solo individual of this story? Leave a comment down below on your conceptions of the WuWa story. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and thank you so much for watching. This has been VoidEnigma, out.